Suddenly, the door to my room swings open, and in comes my mother, dressed in her finest formal attire, one of her favorite dresses, a nearly flawless white, with intricate laced patterns, adorned with her finest jewelry, makeup done, hair perfectly styled and pulled tightly into a bun on the top of her head. As she looked at me, her expression was one of pure shock and anger. "Mother," I exclaimed, "the man in the pinstripe suit has these strange powers," I said, as she stormed her way over to me. She raised her hand, giving me a single solid strike against the face. The slap forced me to the ground. Falling to my knees, I looked back up at her. "But mother," I said, grasping my face, still feeling the sting of the slap. She grabbed me by my arm, hoisting me to my feet. "What have you done to yourself?" she shouted, grasping at my suit in different places, showing me the sections still wet and damp from being in the snow. "However did you do this?" she said. "No, the better question is whatever would have compelled you to do this." "But mother," I exclaimed, "the man in the pinstripe suit," I said, pointing in his direction. "I have heard enough of your nonsense," she exclaims, raising her hand and slapping me again. "You have disappointed me on many occasions, Reginald, but this is unacceptable. I will hear no more of this imaginary friend while you behave like a wild animal, ruining your suits. There is a very important garden party to attend, and here you are looking like a swine pig who has been rolling in the mud. There are very important people who are going to be in attendance to this garden party, and now we are going to be late because my son felt like being a pig," my mother shouted. "Now, you will put on a new, fresh suit, and you will look proper. You will go to the garden party, and you will behave like a proper gentleman. You will not disappoint me again. Do you understand me, Reginald?" my mother exclaimed. My eyes rolled over to the man in the pinstripe suit, still standing in the middle of the room, calmly, tall, hands tucked in his pocket, as if he didn't have a care in the world. "Yes, mother," I replied, wiping the tears from my eyes. My mother turned around and stormed her way out of the room, slamming the door behind her. "Why didn't she see you?" I said to the man in the pinstripe suit, still trying to sniffle and wipe my way through the tears. "Oh, it's quite simple. You're the reason I'm here, so you're the only one who can see me," the man in the pinstripe suit replied. "I find it easier that way." "I thought you gave people what they desired," I said. "This was your fault. Why didn't you do anything?" "Sorry," the man in the pinstripe suit replied. "Stopping bad things from happening to you isn't part of my job description. I give people what they want. I don't stop them from getting things that they don't. Besides, that piece of work is your mother, not mine, and I see no profit from me in stepping in to help." "But you're the one who caused this," I shouted. "This is all your fault. Just go away. Go away and leave me be, stranger." The man in the pinstripe suit simply sighed, brushed off his jacket. "As you wish. I suppose I'll see you again when you're feeling more equitable to an agreement." And with a snap of his fingers, the man in the pinstripe suit disappeared from my room in a brilliant red glare of fire and light. For a short time, I sat there, simply trying to clear the tears from my eyes before composing myself and beginning the process of putting on a new clean and laundered suit. If I was not ready by the time that my mother returned, there would be a price to pay. She was not gentle-handed or kind when it came to punishment or to misconduct. After putting on a fresh suit, this time I chose a dull gray design, shortly after which my mother came back. Opening the door, imaginary friend nonsense. You are a Worthington, and your behavior is expected to reflect that. You have no time for childish games. Now come along. I followed my mother out of the room, and we began to make our way downstairs towards the front yard, where there would no doubt be a carriage waiting for us. Shuffling across the wood floors, I passed all the paintings of the Worthington family that came before me. My father and grandfather and great-grandfather decorated the walls of the hallway. The lavish design of the frames and the prestigious appearance of the paintings themselves, a stark contrast to the gray walls they hung upon. As we walked down the grand staircase leading from the second floor to the base floor, all of the houseworkers, the maids, and the head butler all lay at the bottom, bowing their heads respectfully as we passed. The head butler opening the door for me and my mother as we exit the house, seeing the carriage waiting for us. The carriage, a custom gold design with French inlay, made specifically for the family, of course. It would never do for a Worthington to arrive in a carriage that was the same as someone else's. So, of course, ours had to be custom made, just like all the higher class families. The groundskeeper opening the door of the carriage so that me and my mother could enter, and closing it, beginning to hear the clack-clack of hoofbeats as the carriage moved forward. The brown leather, comfortable interior of the carriage was a nice, relaxing sit while we awaited our arrival to the garden party. As we made our journey, many things crossed my mind. The strange man in the pinstripe suit, his strange powers, the things that he could do, and of course, more than anything, what was awaiting me at the garden party. The expectations, the behavior I was supposed to maintain, and whether or not my father would actually be in attendance. I thought of asking my mother, but knew better than to speak out of turn, or else punishment would surely follow. So I simply passed the time staring out of the window during the trip, watching the trees pass, counting them, differentiating them by type and size, how old they looked, often seeing people nearby the road in shabby, haphazard carts, waving as we pass. My mother, very ladylike, waved back with a smile. It was important to maintain image, even to the commoners, as if any of them would ever know what she was really like. And before long, we had finally made it to the garden party. This one was being held at the Sanderson estate. The Sanderson family was even more influential and powerful than my own, so it was important to maintain good relations with them for business. Unfortunately, my relationship with the Sanderson's son was all but pleasant. He delighted in extolling me about the superiority of his family and their status in the community, along with many other unpleasant activities. As we arrived, the lush garden of the Sanderson family, even more lavish than our own, finally starting to fade as we went into the winter months, still held much of its prestige. As we exited the carriage, I could already hear the people talking in the garden, sharing drinks and laughter, most likely discussing business and politics, and the ornately hung lanterns all around the garden, lighting the area with gentle colors. As expected, the garden party was already well